Hey guys, welcome to Combat Kettlebell intro number 3. This kettlebell workshop, we're going to talk about stances and arm positions. So now, all very basic positions that we want to be able to hit while we're doing kettlebells. Our first one is going to be a sumo stance, which is going to be a slightly wider than shoulder width stance with our toes just slightly out. This allows us to have free transfer of the bell from the ground up in between our hips and then up into an overhead position if we need to. So now your alternate stances from there are just going to be a shoulder width stance. So not something that you want to be super narrow with. You always want to have your feet underneath you when you're using the kettlebell. So this will be your standard stance, and then your wide sumo stance for most exercises will be the two main stances. Now you want to make sure that when you're in those stances, your balls of your feet are in contact with the ground, your heels are in contact with the ground. So we use the term rooted to kind of describe that feeling of being very solid, and that way we can maneuver and get that little hip and knee bend when we need to, and also allows us to cushion the bell from any overhead work down into the shoulders. So now the rack position is the position where I'm holding the bell up close to my chest, and as you can see, it is resting comfortably along my forearm and kind of cradled in the crook of my arm. Okay, so you see the bell has contact with my bicep, my forearm, and then my wrist. I'm keeping my fingers straight up and out. That way I can tell that my wrist is straight. You always want your wrist to be straight while you're pressing through with the kettlebell. You never want it cocked back like that, because it's going to put a lot of stress on your wrist joint itself. And when you're doing any sort of catching motion or overhead motion, that will get really strained if you do a lot of work with it. Now in the overhead position, I'll switch to the back. When we get that bell up overhead, we want that shoulder blade to be in a nice packed distance, so we're not extending up all the way. We're actually keeping the shoulder blade packed and down, and just keeping the arm extended all the way up top. That way when we're doing any sort of overhead motion, our shoulder is packed and stable, and we can hold that bell there for a long period of time if we need to. Okay, so those are going to be your basic positions, both with stances and arm positions that you're going to want to use while using your kettlebell. So let's end this video, and we're going to start talking about fundamental movements. Some of these are movements that you're not going to be able to do with a bell, but you'll be doing with body weight exercises, but we want to talk about those just so you're familiar with them, and when we do some things like that in the workout, you're going to be more knowledgeable about them. So stay tuned for the next video.